Hiya folks, welcome back, it's Will here once again, breaking down another card. We're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 83 from the Consol Energy Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as it's Cowboy versus Cowboy, Cowboy Cerrone against Cowboy Oliveira, in a pretty fun looking card which comes in the 21st of February, next Sunday, which I'm looking forward to as I'm not working, so that always helps. Overall, a pretty good fight card coming off UFC Fight Night 82, Hendricks versus Thompson, which I had a great picks wise. I went 10-2, but my two of my most confident picks lost, Lobov and Lahat. So otherwise, I did very, very well for the card. Picked some nice underdogs, and I see a couple underdogs in here that I like as well. So just a few little thank yous and shout outs to some of the people who watch my video, who help me. I try and help them. Flying Brian makes great prediction videos. Please go check him out. Rockstar Z, my good buddy Kyle from Canada. Please go and check out. He has great fight breakdowns before the event start, usually out on a Wednesday before the fight cards. Half the Battle. Daniel is my man. Makes great videos, great interviews, I should say, with some of the most exciting fighters in the UFC, so go check him out. And of course, my two favourite podcasts, the Partner Shot podcast, Severe MMA podcast, please go and check those guys out. So, let's get straight into this fight. We're going to start down in the heavyweight division as we have Anthony Freight Train Hamilton, I think it is, against Shamil Abdurakhimov. I've been going back and forth on this one a little bit. Anthony Hamilton coming off, he's kind of trading wins and losses. Beat Roan Potts, kind of beat him up pretty bad. Then got starched by Todd Duffy with a huge shot. If he gets hit right, this guy goes down. But he came back with a nice win over Daniel Omilanchuk last time out, who is a tough guy. I've seen Daniel fight a few times, and he's a tough guy to put away. But he got the W there. He has some big power in his hands. He's very kind of stationary with his movement. Has some good ground and pound. If this guy gets you down there, he can unload on you like he did against Roan Potts. He went to the body against Roan Potts a lot in that fight and really beat him up down there. And that's where I think he will want to take this fight against Abdurakhimov here. I think he will want to do that. As we see in the last fight with Shamil, that he got taken down and Timothy Johnson just beat his ass down there. That was his UFC debut. I don't rate him very highly, but I think these are two low level guys in the UFC heavyweight division. I think he's another guy, very stationary, bad footwork, kind of like the typical kind of heavyweight. But I think when it comes to power and technique, Hamilton just outshines him a little bit, not by a hell of a lot, I must admit. I think he does get taken down a little bit easy, does Abdurakhimov, but the way I see this fight going is maybe back and forth for half of that first round, and I can see Hamilton wanting to maybe push this fight against the cage, initiate a takedown, which I think he will get eventually, and I think with his heavy ground and pound he's going to catch Abdurakhimov, but I think he may kind of find it tough in the first round. But I think once we get into the second round, he may actually hit that takedown again and smash him from the top. So my pick's going to be Anthony Hamilton v TKO in the second round. Next up, a fight I'm looking forward to watching, women's bantamweight division. We have Marion Reneau against Ashlee Evans-Smith. Ashlee Evans-Smith is actually, I think she's a good prospect for the women's bantamweight division. We haven't seen her in a long time. She's got a 3-1 record with a last fight being a loss to Raquel Pennington. In a fight she was dominating in that first round and then just made a very clear mistake and left her neck out there, and Raquel Pennington caught a bulldog choke, something we don't see very often, and put Evans to Smith. It was actually a really sick submission, but I took a lot away from Ashlee Evans-Smith in that one. I think she's got a lot of power. She comes forward, she looks to trade. She put Pennington against the cage and she was using knees up against there, a few foot stomps, and she was clearly winning round one. I think she got stopped at 4:59 in the first, and then I think she got popped for something in that fight, if I remember right, and we haven't seen her in a long time. Here she's facing off against Marion Reneau, who I think she's been pretty good in the UFC. Her only loss comes to the current champion in Holly Holm, where I think she was a little bit gun shy in that one. I don't think she could really keep up with Holly Holm. But she came into the UFC, she absolutely murdered Alexis Dufresne. It was horrible to watch. Really beat her up. That fight should have been stopped probably midway through the second. Second fight, she went down to Brazil and she submitted Jessica Andrade. And when I was making, I think if I remember right, when I was making that, I thought this is a really tough fight for Reneau. I didn't give her too much of a chance, and she leapt on the back of Andrade and she caught a rear naked choke, put her to sleep. It was beautiful finish from Reneau. And then she faced Holly Holm, who she got outclassed. I think I actually picked Reneau in that fight, if I remember right. But Holly Holm showed up, and then she showed up again, and then she's shown up with the UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship. Another fight which I think will be fairly close here. I think Evan Smith is a really good contender, a really good up-and-coming fight in that division. Reneau, she is a little bit older, she is very aggressive, but I think Ashlee Evan Smith can get this done, so I'm going to go with, I think it's going to be close. I think I can see a lot of people picking Reneau, but I'm going to pick, I said at the start of the year, I'm going to pick more underdogs. I like Ashlee Evan Smith, I like her aggression. I think she's a bigger girl as well. She can maybe push Reneau against the cage and maybe dominate from there. But see, Reneau is very, very crafty and she's very good. But I'm going to go Ashlee Evan Smith via a very close split decision. I'm guessing she'll be the underdog for this fight, so that's why I'm going with her. I just think she's a very strong girl. I think she's very good kind of everywhere as well. And she could have enough to beat Reneau here. So Evan Smith for me. Moving on to the Fox Sports 1 prelim card. Welterweight division, Jonathan Webb against Nathan Coy. Ooh, I don't like this matchup for Nathan Coy one little bit. This was supposed to be Brian Bam Bam Barberena against Jonathan Webb. Of course, Barberena went and faced Northcutt, beat Northcutt, and then Nathan Coy stepped up to face Webb in I think his home state. Nathan Coy had a prospect last time out against Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts, and he got submitted in that fight back in December, the Namajunas Van Zandt card. I don't think this is going to end too well. This could possibly be Nathan Coy's last fight in the UFC. He's a grinder, looks to put you against the cage, looks to take you down, beat you from top position. Doesn't really get too many stoppage victories. We've seen him in Bellator against Andy Urich. He got that decision there. He beat Paul Bradley down in there as well, and then he came into the UFC. And Danny Roberts is a legit prospect in that welterweight division, and this is another one with Jonathan Webb. Personally, I thought he got a really bad judge's decision against Kyle Noak down in Australia. I thought he won that fight pretty clearly. Took him down in that fight fairly easily. Noak's quite hard to take down as well. But I just think in this fight, Jonathan Webb is just faster. He's better striker. He has more technique. He has better wrestling, better grappling all around. And I think he will catch Nathan Coy in a submission. So I'm going to go Jonathan Webb. Maybe late second round, possibly early third round. But I think Webb he's one of my most confident picks in this one. Out of the three that I've got here, Jonathan Webb is definitely my most confident pick. But a submission victory, late second round for Jonathan Webb. Middleweight division, Trevor Smith against Leonardo Augusta Guimaraes. Guimaraes coming into the UFC with 11-1 record. He watched a few of his fights. He's one of these Brazilians who is he's very athletic. He's very good at distance. He looks to put you, like, hit from distance, push against the cage, and then get you down. And once you get you down there to the ground, that's when his skills come to the top, really. He's got a very good jiu-jitsu game, a very good back control. Once he gets you down there, he's very good at manoeuvring you around to where he can possibly get you in a submission. He's got a load of wins by rear naked choke. He some decent leg kicks as well, but sometimes he does tire through the middle of the fight, and that's something that may kind of come back to kind of hurt him in this fight against Trevor Smith. Trevor Smith's a guy I've watched a few times. I see him in Dublin where he beat Tor Troing, and actually seen his last fight against Dan Miller at the Ultimate Fighter finale in Vegas back in July. Actually got the opportunity to meet Trevor while we were waiting for some fast food, and great guy, nice guy. His mother was there with him, a really nice woman as well. And he says he just loves the sport. He knows he's not the best guy in the world, but he just loves the sport and he loves the competition. In this one, I can see this just being an all-out grind fest. and I can see maybe Guimaraes coming out strong, but I can see Trevor Smith, the experience that he's got coming to the 14. I mean, he used to fight back in Strikeforce before he came into the UFC, and he's been around a long time, so I think his experience will help him here. Both guys tend to fade really badly though, but I do think in his last fight against Dan Miller, his striking looked a lot better as well. I was watching in the crowd and I thought his striking's coming along. He was just a little bit too much for Dan Miller, and I think that fight could look pretty similar to this one. It'd be interesting to go to the ground because Trevor Smith, a lot of his wins are by submission as well. And but I like Trevor Smith in this one. I just think he's got the more experience, and once he gets you to the ground, it's very hard to kind of move you off. So I'm going to go Trevor Smith by a decision. Moving on to the middleweight division, we have Daniel Sarafian against Oluwale Bamgbose. Bamgbose, very raw talent. I've seen him in Ring of Combat for the first time. Got his call up to the UFC against Uriah Hall. I think those guys kind of trained a little bit, so, and you can kind of see that Uriah Hall had the beating of Bamgbose right about now, and probably always have done. 5 of his wins are via first round stoppage. Very aggressive on the feet, but very wild. Swings haymakers, throws big high kicks, and looks just to take you out in that first round. Haven't seen too much of him outside of that. Doesn't have a particularly good grappling game. If you get him to the ground, I think you've got every chance in the world, if you're a decent jiu-jitsu practitioner, to submit this guy. But he's against Daniel Sarafian, a guy I was pretty high on a couple of years ago, but not anymore. I don't really think he's particularly good. This could be a last fight in the UFC. It wouldn't surprise me if this guy kind of got the boot out of the UFC if he doesn't win this match. He's had some favourable kind of matchups. That Eddie Mendez fight was just he was a can pretty much, and he got a submission in the first round. Lost to Cesar Ferreira in a pretty competitive fight, I must admit. Then he got submitted by Kiichi Kunamoto, where he just didn't look. Kunamoto really got him early in that one, in that first round, and put him to sleep. And then last time against Antonio Dos Santos fucked his finger pretty much. His finger popped out. They stopped the fight, and I thought Dos Santos was actually winning that fight there as well. I'm not going to pick Daniel Sarafian anymore. I just don't believe in his skills too much. I think, but this fight could look a lot like the Eddie Mendez fight because we don't know much about Bamgbose, but I like the way he comes out swinging. I'm going to go Bamgbose, another underdog here. I just think I'm not a believer in Daniel Sarafian anymore, and Bamgbose I think has big legit raw power and can take you out. So I'm going to go Bamgbose via TKO in the first round. That's a big bold pick, but I'm going to make it. I've had a few come in lately, and this is another one here, but I can see a lot of people picking Sarafian as well. So my pick's going to be Bamgbose. Welterweight division, Alex Garcia against Sean Strickland. When I first heard this, I thought that's a decent matchup. Then you kind of look more into it and you realise both these guys are kind of very like grinders. There's not a lot of output with these guys, and this could lead to a pretty non-eventful fight in this one here. But nonetheless, a tough fight to break down, a tough fight to really pick a winner, because I think it's going to go to the judges' scorecard. Alex Garcia, saw him at UFC 189 against Mike Swick. I thought Swick was doing okay, but Garcia's extra speed and strength of putting Swick against the cage really showed. And a guy I was pretty high on as well a few years ago, but kind of rained off a little, fighting out of TriStar. Sean Strickland, on the other hand, is a guy who's been in the UFC. He's got wins over Bubba McDaniel, Luke Barnett, and I can't remember who his last win was against. Let me check it out. I know his loss was Santiago Ponzinibbio. Igor Araujo, that was it. Went down to Brazil, came in with a couple of wins. He submitted Bubba McDaniel, pretty decent when he goes to ground. Beat Luke Barnett. I thought Luke Barnett actually won that fight when I was watching at the time. Rewatched it this week, and it was really close. So either or, Strickland got the decision. I got to be happy with that. Then went down to Brazil. Ponzinibbio was coming into his own right now, and he took some big shots from Ponzinibbio. So this guy shows he's got a great chin. And then he just outworked Igor Araujo. He could have probably finished that fight in all honesty as well. I see this fight taking place against the fence. just one guy try to take each other down, and we'll see who can kind of get down there and kind of control the fight. I like Strickland. I'm not very confident in the pick, but I'm going to pick him. Sean Strickland via a split decision, sorry. Moving on to the main card on Fox Sports 1, we have James Krause against Shane Campbell in the lightweight division. Interesting fight. I like James Krause. He's a kind of crafty veteran. He's getting better on his feet as he's progressing through his career. Has some decent jiu-jitsu skills, has a really nice choke on him. We've seen that against Dan Cruikshank last time out. They were engaging in some strikes, it got in close, and he caught Cruikshank in a really nice submission and got the victory there. I think he's trading wins and losses, if I remember right. Shane Campbell, on the other hand, is coming off a very impressive victory over Elias Silverio, who I thought was a pretty tough guy. I was pretty confident in Silverio in that fight, but Shane Campbell, a kickboxer by trade, showed some really nice grappling exchanges in that one and showed some improved grappling in that one. But he wants to keep this fight in the feet. I think he's got a clear advantage being a kickboxer. Doesn't have searing power, but has really nice technique. He's fairly accurate. But I think James Krause he's very savvy and he's got enough kind of wits about him to take this fight to the ground. If he can be a little bit fast on his feet and be a little bit unpredictable in the exchanges and possibly get a takedown from that, I can see Krause winning this one. Possibly a submission, but I like James Krause via a unanimous decision. Moving on, Chris Camozzi against Joe Riggs. I don't like this fight at all. From Joe Riggs' standpoint, I think Joe Riggs is done. He got a win last time against Ron Stallings with an up kick, which I don't think was really. It was, but I just think he could have continued in that one, and he didn't do it, and he got the win from it. Chris Camozzi is a kind of well-rounded guy. He's shown ever-improving skills everywhere. He won last time against Tom Watson, and he's got a vary of he's won a lot by decision, he's won a lot by submission, he's got some knockout. I think it's 5, 6, and 9. So he's won a lot of fights, this guy, and he's been around the UFC for a long time as well. I like Chris Camozzi in this one. I think he can stop Joe Riggs. Riggs is very tough, very resilient, but I think Camozzi can use big leg kicks, hurt him from there, maybe put him against the cage and take the fight down and maybe hit him with some really heavy ground and pound. So I'm going to go Chris Camozzi TKO round number 2. Featherweight division, we have Dennis the Menace Bermudez against Tatsuya Kawajiri. Interesting fight as both guys are fairly similar in their games. Bermudez, all-action fighter, great wrestler, goes for the kill, is a little bit too reckless sometimes, and I think his chin is a little bit glassy. You can kind of see it. He got dropped by a jab by Ricardo Lamas, and then he got submitted from there. I think even back a few years ago, he got dropped by Matt Grice, who is not a powerful striker, or was not a powerful striker back then, and he got dropped in that one. Great fight, by the way. I watched that fight this week. Really good fight. But saw him last time against Jeremy Stephens. Phenomenal fight. It was on that main card of UFC 189, which is probably the best of all time. And all action back and forward. I thought it was close, and went in for a takedown when Stephens' back was against the cage, and Stephens come up with a fucking huge flying knee, knocked Bermudez out. And that was that. Kawajiri, on the other hand, he's just a grinder. Grinder is the best word to say when you're talking about Tatsuya Kawajiri. Coming off a win over Jason Knight back in December. Knight is a newcomer to the UFC. I thought he did okay in his UFC debut against a guy of Kawajiri's caliber, but wins over Siva, wins over Soriano, before that Omagawa back in Dream, and then it was Donald Sanchez back in 1FC. You know what this guy wants to do. He wants to take you down to the ground and dominate you down there, and if he does that, I think he could do that against Bermudez, but I think Bermudez has got a lot of scrambling skills and he can get back to his feet from that position. I like the power that Dennis Bermudez has and the kind of unpredictability about this guy. I think Dennis Bermudez can really can stop Kawajiri here. Not too many people do that. I know Eddie Alvarez did it back in the day, but I like Dennis Bermudez in this one. I think he's gonna stop Kawajiri, so I'm gonna go a TKO in the second round again for Dennis Bermudez. The fight I'm most looking forward to in this whole entire card, Cody No Love Garbrandt against John Lineker. Now, anybody that knows me knows I'm a Cody Garbrandt fan. Have been for a long time since he was back in the amateurs. Come through on the pros, and he's won some fights through there. Fights out of Team Alpha Male, has been kind of moving about. He went to Jackson's for a little bit. He's been working with Brandon Gibson for this, Six Guns Gibson, for this camp. And from what I'm hearing from a few people that I know through kind of lower fighters coming up through Team Alpha Male, that Garbrandt's looking good, man. He's really looking on point a week out from the fight. But he has a really tough challenger here in John Lineker. John Lineker, last time against Francisco Rivera, fucking hell. This was back and forward, just swinging haymakers. And the thing is with Lineker, he will just put you against the cage and he will swing until he connects. And he hit Rivera with some huge shots. Props to Francisco Rivera, because he landed some on Lineker, and Lineker just kept bombing forward. Shots to the body, shots to the head, and eventually the shots took their toll on Rivera. And that was that. One of the most unbelievable exchanges between two fighters you'll ever see. He also has really good takedown defense. He showed that against Ian McCall when McCall tried to get him down. I think he'll be a little bit undersized in this one, but yes, I think he has the clear power advantage in this one. If he can stop the takedown, I think he's got a good chance of winning this one. Last time I seen Cody fight, I thought he would have fought by now instead of like July to maybe February, but I think he had an injury towards the end of the year and couldn't really get a fight either after that. But against Henry Brunson, he just didn't pull the trigger. Spoke to him on the Sunday, run into him at the tough finale, and he just says he just didn't feel it. He just couldn't pull the trigger, and he's going to have to do that against John Lineker here, because Lineker is going to come and he's going to try and push Garbrandt against the fence here. I think Cody Garbrandt personally has to go back to his wrestling background, which we really haven't seen in the UFC, but he has it, and he's a really good wrestler, and he has to mix it up in this one if he wants to beat Lineker. The one thing that really throws me off with Cody Garbrandt, now I've watched this guy since amateurs, his very first amateur fight. Now I know I'm going back a long time, but he got knocked out with the very first shot in that fight, and if that guy can do it back then, John Lineker can definitely do it. But I'm going to go with Cody Garbrandt. I like, and might be a little bit of a kind of heart over head pick here, but I think if he mixes it up well, he can beat and get the scalp of John Lineker here. But it is very close, and a lot of people will pick Lineker, but I'm going to go with underdog. I'm going to go with Cody Garbrandt. Co-main event, Derek Brunson against Jucao Carneiro. Carneiro coming in back into the UFC, beat Mark Munoz, UFC 184. So he's been out for a while, a good year, and got that fight to the ground and used his submission skills, which he has. We've seen that in the kind of battlegrounds one night tournament, I think it was, that he won 3 fights in one night and won some nice money in that one. Decent fighter. We've seen him in the UFC many moons ago, shown improvements since then, but I think Derek Brunson is just too much. I think he has huge power. He's coming into his own right now. He has good grappling. He's only lost, I think, in the last 5 fights is Yoel Romero, who is a stud. We all know in that division, and he was winning that fight as well early on. He could have probably got the first 2 rounds, and then he got stopped in the third. But very, very wild striker. I mean, he knocked out Sam Alvey, and Sam Alvey's got a chin in him. Once he has you hurt, he swarms on you and beats your ass, gets you to the ground. He's got some huge ground and pound. I think the longer this fight goes on, the more I like Derek Brunson. I think he can get a finish in this one, but I'm going to go with decision, so Derek Brunson via unanimous decision. And the main event of the night, Donald Cowboy Cerrone against Alex Oliveira, Cowboy Oliveira. So Donald Cerrone, this is him moving up to 170 after the really was not a good fight against Rafael dos Anjos. Did not show up, and Donald Cerrone is really bad for that. Slow starts cost him, and it definitely cost him in that fight with RDA. What do we like about Donald Cerrone? The guy is aggressive. He's a great kickboxer. He's actually pretty well rounded, but great kickboxer. Really reflex, like the speed of his kicks are really good. Leg kicks especially. Has a nice jab, but he needs to get off to a quick start. I don't think Oliveira is a guy I like watching, but I don't think he's the kind of complete article yet. And I think that'll show in this one. I think they're both kind of similar fighters, with the exception that Cerrone is a lot better striker. Oliveira is very wild. He lunges forward and he's open to strikes. If this fight goes to the ground, Cerrone is very underrated down in the ground. He's very dangerous down in there as well. I can see Cerrone coming out. Hopefully, I can see him maybe losing the first round and then starting to pick up a little bit and maybe winning the middle rounds. And the time this gets to the fourth and the fifth, he's maybe up 3 rounds to 1, 2 rounds to 2, 2 rounds to 1, sorry. And I can see Oliveira coming forward and looking to just engage more in this fight and maybe getting caught with something and going to the ground. And I can see Donald Cerrone catching a submission victory. We haven't seen that in a while. So I'm going to go Donald Cerrone by submission in the middle of the 4th round. So that is my picks for UFC Fight Night 83 from Pittsburgh. I'll be back. I think I'll have a card out. I'll do another prediction video this Thursday for UFC London. They're back over my side of the water for a change. Anderson Silva against Michael Bisping. A card which is actually, there's some nice prospects on there, so I'm looking forward to watching some tape on those guys. Just a little quick note, I'll be going to UFC 197 Cormier versus Jones 2. If you watch these videos and you're going to be in Vegas that week, and if you see me, come say hi, let's go for a drink, talk some fights, I will be there. Come follow me on Twitter, WillMartin7MMA, and yeah, I'll be back for UFC London through the week, so keep your eye out on that. Take care.